All right, so picking up where we left off, I did a little bit of cleanup before starting this morning, uh, making sure that my eye was all grouped together. You can do that by selecting everything that was in it, the eyeball lens, the bottom and the top eyelid, and just grouping that. And the mouth, which has the mouth, the tongue, the teeth bottom, the teeth top, and hitting Control G, grouping those together. And that'll allow us to take everything we have and combine it and hide it first later so that we can go ahead and create the hands and the arms. But for now, the first thing we want to do is go ahead and shape the body so that it's more than just a regular cylinder. To do that, I'm going to go into my front view and I'm going to go into my X-ray shading, and you can see these minions have a little bit of a definition to them. They kind of curve in. They're a little more peanut shaped than cylinder shape. So to do this, I'm going to go over, and in my menu I'm going to choose my animation, and I'm going to choose create deformer, and I'm going to use a lattice deformer. In here, if I reset the settings, I'm going to use the basic settings, and I'm going to go ahead and click create. Now what this will do is this will give us the ability to morph this body without having to select faces. This will deform the entire shape at once instead of having to select each face or each vertex and tweak it. So you can see what I can do here. I can actually move these points around a little bit and move more than just a little bit. Now this is actually really handy. And once you get good with these, you can actually do some really great shaping with this to start off with. So I'm going to take that, I'm going to move that like there. I'm going to bring this in a little bit. I'm going to bring this head down a little bit to match up. Now, of course, you can make your minion however you like and tweak him and shape him to be the style you prefer. And a little bit of shape on your own. I prefer you to experiment and come up with your own shape than to just rely on, you know, the exact numbers that I do. It's going to benefit you a whole lot more in the long run. Let's see. That's a little too much. There we go. Look there. Check those out. Not bad. And now I'll go into the side view and see I'm still very cylindrical here, so I'm going to want to go ahead and take these here, bring that in a little bit more to add a little bit more of a peanut shape. And I like that on the side. On the side we can keep it pretty straight up the way it was, just add a little bit of the deformation to it. Now when we're done and you've got your shape the way you like, all you need to do is come in and select your shape, go to edit, delete by type, and history, and that'll leave everything exactly the way it was. Now it's a little rough, it's a little bit too quick here, but I'm going to cover those up with genes anyway. I'm going to lose my X-ray shading, and I can see my mouth is a little bit too forward. I'm going to bring that back here a little bit. Take my mouth group, move the whole group back just a little bit, just to compensate that. And you can see it's a little harsh line here, but again, I'm going to be putting genes over the top of that, so it really doesn't matter. But you can see just that little definition goes a long way, gives it a lot more character than just a regular cylinder. Okay, so the next step we're going to do is create hands for this. To do this, I'm going to move everything into a new layer and go ahead and hide it. Now there's a couple different ways to create hands. I've seen different ones, from extruding to attaching to building your own fingers. The best thing to do on this is to really experiment and try it on your own. For this case, we're going to create a really cartoony 3-finger only hand. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use actual spheres to create that shape. So I'm going to go up to create, polygon primitives, spheres, and I'm going to set my radius to 1, axis divisions to 8, 8, click create. Focus in on it, and now I'm going to have to rotate this on its side. Now if we rotate the Z to 90, it'll be exactly where we want it to be. Okay, now this is going to be the first tip of our finger. So we're going to need 3 of these, but for now we're just going to start with the 1 because it's easier to duplicate that later. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and create the palm. So we're going to create polygon primitives, sphere. We're going to use the exact same settings, except this time Just slide this out here, and we're going to rotate it in the opposite direction. We're going to rotate this along the x-axis to go ahead and use these as our attaching points. So when we're working with these spheres, we're going to want to be able to attach different places onto here to create our pivots. So to attach these faces, we're going to have to do a couple different things, so follow me. So what we're going to do is we're going to delete these faces here. Oh, let me just change this to the regular select. And pan around real quick, make sure that there's nothing else. We go ahead and delete that. And what that's going to do is that's going to create 8 vertices here that we can go ahead and attach to this face here. Now on this side, what we're going to do is we're actually going to delete all of these faces on this side where we have 8. And just to give you a demonstration, I'm going to go ahead and select this face. This, oh, seems I selected over my face too much. I'm going to select this one, that one, and this one. And you can see we're going to line up these vertices to these vertices. So I'm going to go ahead and select the vertex on here. I'm going to select the vertex on here. I'm going to move these here by selecting, holding down the V key, and dragging it over. Oop, I think I grabbed the wrong one there. Yep, I should have grabbed this one. It's a little tricky to get used to. And just like that. All right, so that's not too bad. I'm thinking our palm might be a little smaller than I want, but I can always come back and clean that up later once I have these all attached. So we have our first finger and our palm, and you can see we're going to do the exact same thing to this other side. So let's go ahead, go back to object mode. I'm going to go ahead and delete this or duplicate this twice. Move this once this way, and this one this way. Go to the top view so I can see them. And go ahead and rotate them a little bit more like that. They don't have to be the same, and matter of fact, a little bit different is probably going to be good because one of these is actually going to be more of a thumb than a finger. But when you're lining these up, you are going to want to make sure that you can get to the vertices pretty easy and make sure that you can get them attached where you need to. Now, we're not really attaching them right now. Right now, we're just kind of getting them lined up before we combine them. As you can see here, I actually rotated more than I wanted to. Oops. I wanted nothing on that. There, I wanted that on 90. And then keep that lined up, and then that way. Okay, so we'll go ahead and attach these here. We're going to go ahead and delete these faces. And using the select. And turn on my camera-based selection just to stop from deleting these ones in the back here. Oops, seems I deleted one earlier and didn't even notice it. I'm also still getting used to using a Windows machine after using a Mac machine for so long, so forgive me if I keep hitting that button. Okay, I'm going to take these and line them up the exact same way I did the other side. Now the thing you're going to have to remember when you're doing this is you're also going to have to line up the inside. So I'm going to show you where that is. So here is our inside, and we're going to have to line that up with the one on this finger. Now we can do that when we combine them, or we can do that now just by snapping them together. So personally, I'm just going to kind of line those up back there, and then I'm going to select the two of them, and then I'm just going to go ahead and merge those to the center by switching back to my polygons, edit mesh, merge to center, just to kind of get there. They're not in the same world, but they will be shortly. So hold the V down here, attach that there. All right, so you get the idea. So I'm going to finish up this last finger, and then I'll turn the video back on. Okay, so here I am. I finished attaching the third one. Now it's not really attached yet. What we need to do is combine all of these into one mesh to start working with it as an actual hand. So we could just go to mesh combine. It'll combine the whole thing together. We can go ahead and delete the history, and that'll set us down to the one. We can just call this hand. And now we can actually merge these vertices together. So we're going to go in here, go to vertex, select what we have, make sure that we have switched back so it is not just camera based, because we're going to want to be able to select all of these vertices that are underneath each other. And again, this is the tricky part, that we got to make sure that we are selecting everything we need. Go merge to center. See how the point moves? We hit G, select those. And we need to go all the way around. And include the ones in the middle here. All right, now if we hit 3, we should be able to see that, yes, we got them all. Okay, now that gives us a nice round shape of a hand to start with. Now it doesn't look great yet, but a few tweaks here and we can get it better. So let's go ahead and select, let's do these faces first. We're gonna go ahead and make this palm a little larger. Come down to the side here and do it this way. Go ahead and scale that up. Squish it down. We don't want it too wide, but we need some depth to it. Okay, then we're going to select, those faces are probably at a good angle to grab here. By just selecting these, oops, can actually just kind of move them down a little bit, get them a little closer. Well, the same thing to be said for these here. Okay. And now we're going to take these rear vertices. Let's switch this back to the top view. We're going to select all the vertices on the back here and flatten them out to create one surface. If I flatten these down like this, this will start to become more of a hand. Now what you have to do to make sure that you're doing this right is we want to get rid of some of these extra triangles in here. And you can see we've got a nice polygon there, polygon, polygon, polygon. So we need to delete some of these edges. And that'll keep our polygon shape looking really nice. Again, low geometry. Looks like I have a little bit that I need to clean up. go back to the 3 here. Yeah, it seems that something got a little tweaked here. Oops, again. Go into my wireframe. Okay, so there, I merged one vertex that didn't need to be there, so I'm not sure exactly where that is. Let's see if I can drag that out here. Yeah, and that needs to go to here. There we go. And bring that back up a little bit. Again, still trying to keep a little curve of the hand. And by doing a 3, we can take a look and see if we missed anything. It looks pretty good. Okay, so now we're going to want to add, this is obviously the top knuckle, so we're going to want to add to our faces here. We're going to want to add to the back of the glove. I'm going to take that, edit mesh, extrude. Again, I prefer the world. But notice how that's back there? That means I grabbed something I shouldn't have. So we're going to undo back to the point where I did the extrude. Switch this back to camera based. Okay, and take this, extrude it back. Scale it down, scale it in. Probably a little more deep than I'd like, so let's go, yeah, there we go. Right about there. Now what we're going to do is extrude one more time. This is going to become the edge of the glove. So we're just going to bring that up and out a little bit. We're going to extrude it back. And there we have a fair proximity of a glove. And pretty close looking minion hand. Now there's a couple things that we could do with this. We could either attach this to the arm, or we could just leave it loose on its own. We could do a couple things with it, but we'll check back with that after we add the arm in. Okay, so our next step is going to be to incorporate this hand with the rest of the body. So we're going to go ahead and visibly bring everything else out and move this off to the side for now. And of course we're going to need to scale it down because it is way larger than we need. However, you know, the joy of working with it that large is it is easier to see what we're going to need. We can also go ahead and change the texture. Might as well just give it something here to make it look more like our glove. So I'm just going to go with the Lambert. Just give it a in here somewhere. All right, let's see. We're going to go to our Hypershade. We're going to take that Lambert that was just assigned there and turn that into brown of some sort. And there you go, something like that. Just something to separate it out so that we know that that's the glove that we're going to be using. Okay. Now our next trick is to get the arm out and extrude that to attach to the glove. So to do that, we're going to want to look at the front first and see where our body lines up, where we have our shoulders. Now, of course, their shoulders are a little bit lower, so they have a lot of head above, and they're also going to have your shoulders for later on when we have the jeans, where we need those to be. So, switch back here. What we're going to need is probably faces between 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5, these here. So if we switch to face mode, we can select the 5 faces that we're going to need. Now this is really more of a guide so that when we move to the side view, we know where we're working. Now that will give us a nice shape to work with to create our shoulder. Now, just like the hand, we're going to want something round to work with when we extrude out the arm. So I'm going to start here And now that I know that these are the ones I'm going to need, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to select the faces. I'm going to marquee select over all of them, making sure that my camera base selection is off, so that this way I can delete the exact same ones on the same side. Hit delete, and that'll create a nice hole right in the middle. And the next thing I need to do is create basically our shoulder and shoulder joint. To do this, I like to have some sort of reference to work with. So first I'm going to take my edge, and that should select all the way around our body. By doing so, we can actually go ahead and extrude this out and in a little bit. Let's go to our panels, back to the perspective, turn the X-ray shading off because we don't need that anymore, and edit mesh, extrude, back to the world to center it out there. Now, the first thing you're going to want to do is pull this out a little bit. It's going to be our shoulder. Then, I like to squish this in a little bit just to give us a sense of what we need. Now, this isn't going to be what we're basing our thing on, because we notice it's a box. It's really hard to get a box round. So, what I like to do here is switch back to my side view and create a sphere with the same amount of points that I have. So if I look at my vertices here, I've got, start at the center, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So I have 14 points that I can work with. So I'm going to want to create a polygon primitives and a sphere again, but this time I'm going to want 14 divisions. Create that. I'm going to rotate it again so that it's facing towards me. Make that -90. Everything else 0. And move it up to become a reference for what I'm working with. Let's scale it down to fit within. Now you could actually use a cylinder if you want. Also, that works just as well. I've just gotten into the habit of using a sphere, so I recommend you, if you want to do that, you can do that as well. So you can see what we have here is points that match up around. So we have 14 vertices around, and we have 14 points on our sphere that we can line up to. So all I'm going to do is take these and do a rough estimate lineup to create a circle. Again, we're not going for exact here, we're going for approximation. I'm not even using the vertices, I'm not lining anything up. I'm really just kind of going to the points on here to give me an approximation of what the circle will be. Because of course when I do this as an arm, I'll end up working with it some more anyway to make it, bend the way that I like it to, and those kind of things. So there you have it. There you have a nice circle that you can work with. So we'll go back to our panels, go back to the perspective here. I'm going to select our edge. That should select all the way around. I'm going to go back to the front. By selecting that edge, you can see sometimes they slide out. I can scale that together like that to flatten it out. And then edit mesh, extrude, pull that arm straight out. Probably to, I'd say about there. We'll go for there for now. We can always stretch it out more as we want to. Okay, with that, we can take our hand, bring that over. I'm gonna flip it because I did it on the other side. I'm gonna flip that exactly 180. Bring it up. Bring it over, And now I need to probably work with the scale a little bit. I can scale this whole thing up a little, and then I can take this, select the edge, and scale it down. Actually, let's undo that. We'll go back to our perspective here. By going into the perspective, I can grab this center and do it evenly all the way through. And that's not too bad. Okay, now we also need to add in some more loops here. So we're going to swap back to object mode. We need to insert some loops where we're going to want some better motion, because my plan down the road is to create a rig for this so that he can move. So I'm going to go ahead and go into object mode. Go into my insert loop tool, create one there, one there. Always do 3. Create one at where the elbow should be, and then 2 spots around that. And then this will be the wrist that will connect to the hand, which is down here. And then pan out, take a quick look. Not bad. And now we have to get the hand to look a little bit more like we want to. You're going to want to scale that. Oops, still had that selected. We're going to want to scale this down a little bit. Maybe bring it in. Tweak it to the point where we're happy with it. And that's what your next step should be. You should go ahead and take the time, even this out, and do the same thing on the other side. And after you have that, you should have the arms and legs, the arms done. The next video, we'll dive into adding in the legs, the boots, and some pants. All right, we'll see you next time.